you've got to have the sales and service teams so ingrained in the process. Like I said, it's not a marketing play. It's a revenue and trust play. Everyone plays a role in that.
When you think about the most impactful videos a business can produce, you might be drawn to the awareness-building brand video or the please go viral social video. But the biggest bang for your video buck might just be in using it to educate your buyers, to build trust, and to clearly answer the questions you know they're asking. And if that's the case, maybe your video strategy isn't just a marketing problem. Welcome to Video in Focus, the show that explores the expanding role of video in modern marketing and sales, and how to create better connections through purposeful video content. I'm your host, Tyler Lessard, and today we're speaking with Zach Basner, host of Film School for Marketers and the head of video training at Impact, a leading inbound and digital marketing agency. He helps companies develop a video content strategy based on a new framework called They Ask, You Answer. Impact's approach is anything but typical, and Zach isn't your typical video expert.
I started an inbound marketing agency when I was super young. It was the first thing I did in my career was start an agency, so that was a lot.
Wow.
And shortly through my career, I got hooked up with Marcus Sheridan at the Sales Lion.
Mm-hmm.
And we could really see that there was a real shift happening with content marketing.
Right.
And video was really, really influencing purchasing decisions. And so we knew that we had to help companies with this, and I kind of took it upon myself to become an expert on YouTube. That was the first thing that I really dove into. Such an amazing opportunity even back then when we started learning about this stuff and helping these companies. And so I started with YouTube.
Yep.
And started helping our clients out with that, and then they needed more help with their production or their strategy, and we were fortunate we could see what was working across the whole board, and so
Right.
we were able to help companies who really just didn't know where to start. And so that's pretty much how I became an expert of sorts. It's just answering and every question and seeing what worked and what didn't.
Now, hold on a second. Zach is coaching businesses on how to do video, yet he's not a classically trained producer. But therein lies the magic and why I believe people like Zach are perfectly suited to develop a video strategy. You see, he thinks like a marketer rather than a creator. So he doesn't start the conversation with questions like, how do we produce the best content? Or what is our budget? But rather, how do we create value for our community? And what type of content can we create to solve the challenges we face in marketing and sales? Which is the right way to approach it, because no business has a video problem.
Not everyone comes to us saying we need help with video. They usually have larger problems, which is, I don't have qualified leads,
Right.
Or we're not building enough trust within our sales process.
Right.
We're not building it early enough. There's clearly a gap here, and we're not, it's either a gap in communication or a gap in quality of leads or a gap in sales, right? So they will come to us, and oftentimes, it's a very simple solution, which is, what if we could fix the communication problems with video? What if we could fix that not having great qualified leads with video? What
Right.
if we could close the sales gap with video? And once we start to have those conversations, then we realize there's a weakness when it comes to video. So after we've diagnosed that as a problem, what we're helping them with is, if this is really going to take, if we're really going to use this to our best ability, how are we going to make this a culture? How are we going to make this not a program that we start and we do this for 6 months and then it fizzles out?
Right.
How do we make good on our investment of becoming this great visual educator in our space, which is a major thing. We're helping them to be the most trusted voice in their space,
Right.
through education.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know a lot of folks that I speak with as well that are trying to champion video within their businesses, and they often start with trying to make the case that they have a video problem. But at a higher level in an organization, they don't care about a video problem, right? That's not meaningful to the bottom line. And so it's really taking that sort of inverse approach and looking at what are those challenges in the business that we can align the capabilities of video against,
Yeah.
and we can solve in a material way by creating amazing content, right? And I think that's the other piece that I find is people aren't thinking enough about the real potential of video to create really amazing experiences that can not just complement what you you do today, but I think, and a lot of the things that you guys have done and taught, I think is it changes the way you actually communicate in the market, how you build your brand, how you engage your audience. And that's really, really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you were to break down the problems that people are having, it's just like you mentioned, it's a trust problem. It's an experience problem.
Right.
Video is a great tool for building trust. That's really, at the end of the day, like you're saying, it's not a video problem, it's a trust problem. And fortunately, we've got the technology with video being very accessible now. It's much cheaper. It's easier than it used to be.
Yep.
And that's why video is such an important tool, is because it's that great tool at earning trust.
Trust. This is such a simple but important concept. People buy from businesses and people they trust. And in this overly digitized age, it's hard to establish rapport, to build relationships, and to earn trust. But when you put your employees on camera to share their knowledge and passion, when your sales rep hits the record button and speaks to your customers like a real human, and when you show off your product or service in a radically transparent way, you earn trust. And when you put video through that lens, it begs the question, is video really just a marketing thing? I mean, isn't earning trust something that everyone in customer-facing roles needs to do?
One of the most common mistakes is that this is going to become a marketing play.
Right.
So this is, video gets placed on the marketing team alone, and that's not a culture. That's not going to create long-term results. We see it as much more of a organizational priority, and that means that it must become ingrained with sales, with service, and with marketing. And so, when you look at a great culture, what that really means is, like I mentioned earlier, it's not a program where it just has some momentum in the beginning, doesn't really pan out.
Right.
A culture is something where everyone goes, man, do you remember when we didn't have those great videos to sell with? Do you remember when we didn't send one-to-one video? That's indicative of a culture. When
it's just like if you go back and you go, remember when we didn't engage on social? Like, remember those weird old days? Or when we didn't write our own content and go out there and build thought leadership? I mean, but you're exactly right. It's about like how you operate as a business, right?
Yeah, and if you really want that to happen, you've got to have really leadership buy-in from the top down. And you've got to have the sales and service teams so ingrained in the process. Like I said, it's not a marketing play. It's a revenue and trust play, and everyone plays a role in that. Whether you're directly selling or you're a subject matter expert, or depending on the layout of the company, this could apply to everybody.
Right.
But it's not just a marketing thing. It has to become a culture.
Now, most of us came into this conversation thinking that video is exclusively the job of marketers and agencies. Yet here we are speaking about video as a tool for earning trust across sales, marketing, and customer service. We're talking about creating a culture of video where everyone's on board and anyone can create content to change the way they communicate. Sounds amazing, right? But easier said than done. So I asked Zach to explain how companies can build this culture of video.
We're not just working with the content creators or the producers
or
the marketing team. We really need to work with everybody that's a part of that culture, just like I mentioned. So you've got leadership, sales, and service all in one room.
Right.
And we're not just talking about video. We're talking about really how the digital buyer has changed in all the ways that they have, not just the way that they use video to make purchasing decisions, but the way they use great content, and the way that they use search engines, and the way that they use social media. I find that in a lot of cases, folks just aren't really fully educated on the facts of how consumers have changed. And so we have to all get on the same page of how those consumers have changed. This is all in a workshop setting as well, so it's usually a half day or full day setting, but we're all talking about how it's changed, how video and great content plays into what they're already doing, what does and does not actually move the needle. And by the end of this, they have all the buy-in they need. So that way, when your producers go to the sales team or go to the subject matter experts and say, hey, we've got this particular question that we need to address for our prospects, or we have this project we need to work on, they're not going to go, well, I don't have time. Or they're not going to go, well, I don't know how to help. They'll already know the what, the why, and the how behind it, and they'll absolutely be willing to be involved.
So you start to build this culture, and you've got support within the organization. And then, the challenge a lot of people face is, where do I start? Or if I'm already starting with video, where do I go next? Where do I perhaps experiment? Or, how do I invest, time and energy into this in a way that I'm fairly confident is going to have a positive impact, but I want to keep my risk low.
I've never seen a team start with video for the sales team
Right.
and fail with that.
Right.
In other words, go to your sales team. So if you're really wondering, where should I start? What should my first video be about? What should we really invest in first?
Yeah.
The sales team is communicating with folks on a regular basis. They've got their ear to the ground. They know what prospects are concerned with, their fears, their anxieties, their worries. And so, get ahead of some of the objections with video.
Yeah.
Talk about some of your processes instead of waiting for the sales meeting. Actually, send a video along instead. I've never seen that not pan out, or that be the best first place to start, because it's stuff that can be used immediately.
Right.
And you're not worried about, is this going to perform well? Is it going to get lots of views? Is it going to get lots of traffic?
Right.
It doesn't matter. You're using it as a tool to sell.
What a novel idea. When it comes to your next video idea, don't ask your marketing team, ask your sales team. And don't worry about views, worry about how it's going to help you sell. I'm just gonna put this here. Got it? So you guys coined, I think you've coined this idea, which I love and fascinates me. It's the idea of the 80% videos, right, which I think kind of aligns to what you're talking about working with your sales team. Can you explain what the 80% videos means, and again, how some of your clients or those listening should approach the idea?
Yeah, so in terms of, like I mentioned, getting ahead of objections and fears and anxieties and worries and shortening the sales cycle, when we started to talk with sales teams and kind of poll them on, what are you experiencing right now? What would help you the most? We were trying to figure out of all the questions that they are asked on the first sales appointment, how many of those questions are the same every single time? Right. So what percentage of those questions are the same every time?
Right.
And most sales teams said around 80%.
Right.
So we thought to ourselves, well, wouldn't it make more sense to get ahead of these things? If we know what the questions are going to be, we know what the objections are going to be, wouldn't it make sense to spend less time during the sales appointment answering those questions, right, and more time qualifying the prospect? Right. So the 80% video is the idea of taking the top 7 to 10 questions that you're answering on your first sales appointment, addressing each of those individually, but also as one video, which we refer to as the 80% video.
Right.
It addresses those top questions,
yeah, and
that is assigned to the prospect to watch before the first sales appointment.
Oh, I love it.
So in other words, you're taking a large portion of what you would normally be doing in your first sales appointment, and you're addressing it beforehand.
Right.
And that way you are shortening your sales cycle, because you don't have to spend time now answering the same old questions over and over again. Now the cool thing is, there's so many benefits to this.
Yeah.
The cool thing is, besides just shortening the sales process, if you go to most sales teams and you go, what do we fail to communicate most often? Mm-hmm. Everyone's going to know the thing. Everyone's going to know, for some reason when we get prospects hooked up and they get to service, they think that this is how it works or that's how it works. This is a great way to now take those conversations happening all the time and standardize a lot of the answers and the way that you talk about the thing. And you never have to worry, did I explain it right? Did I miss anything? Am I setting up service for failure? Anything like that? It's very standard.
Yeah. Do you ever have, do you see teams doing that, recording, one version of that video and, using it across the board? Or do you ever see teams actually having each of their reps do that 80% video, so they're sending the client a video of them actually explaining it, as opposed to, here's my VP of sales explaining things to you? Do you see sort of one approach versus the other?
And this is so important too. The most successful companies with this are the ones who are willing to say, okay, if we're going to build trust with somebody, if we're going to have the prospect watch this piece of content, it should be the person that they're going to be working with. Yeah. It should be the person they're going to meet with in that first sales appointment, because what we know is that if video is a great sales tool and trust tool, then it allows the prospects to see us, to hear us, and know us before we see, hear, and know them. So therefore, if the salesperson or the first point of contact that they're going to be working with in that first meeting is the same one in the video, well, then they're going to be coming in with a lot more trust. Yeah. It's just like the example I like to use. any of us go to like a hardware store or electronics store and somebody comes up to us and they're wearing, the polo and they ask, how can I help? And our first reaction is to go, I'll come find you if I need anything.
Yeah.
I'm just browsing, thanks. It's interesting. We've all like conditioned ourselves to act like that.
Yeah.
And it's no different in most sales processes.
Yeah.
The prospect is going to come in with a reasonable amount of distrust,
Right.
even though you've done nothing, to break their trust. What if we could build it quicker and have them come in with instead feeling like they know that person?
Right.
That's really what the idea of the 80% video is all about.
Okay, one more thing to add to my video to-do list. Make 80% videos. What a brilliant idea. Save time for both you and your buyer, answer key questions confidently and consistently, and earn trust before going into your first call. Now this all sounds great, so I asked Zach to provide an example of a company who's doing this well, with the caveat that this company can't be in a flashy creative industry, nor can they be using a big marketing budget to create the content. So say hello to the exciting world of printers and copiers.
We have a great client called Advanced Imaging Solutions.
Okay.
And they're based out of Las Vegas. And they sell copiers and IT services and things like that. And their journey has been really interesting, and it's just always continued to build momentum.
Yeah.
And that they realized, okay, we need to be producing video, but we can't necessarily bring a full-time videographer on right now. So that's where we want to see our clients, and the most successful ones do have that full-time videographer.
Yep.
They said, we can only do part-time right now, so they brought a part-time videographer on. And they started to create content that was actively going to be used in the sales process. And over time, we started to notice, okay, well, there's not actually full buy-in yet from the sales team. We got to fix this.
Yeah.
So we went in, we had a workshop, and we got everybody on the same page. We got them all fired up.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, now the videographer's full-time because it makes a lot more sense. Now we've got the revenue to back it up. And they started creating just really great, helpful content overall, and including the subject matter experts and really covering all portions of the buyer's journey. And they focused heavily on organic search. They wanted, if anybody had a question about a copier, like, should I buy a new one? Should I buy a used one? Should I finance or should I outright purchase this? Or, whatever the things are that people are concerned about when they're buying anything.
Why does my toner keep running out?
Yeah, I mean that's a great awareness stage, content there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they really started to look at, what do people want to know about? And they obsessed over the questions that their prospects had, and it's been bearing a lot of fruit for them.
Now, if you're wondering what AIS's content actually looks like, just hop on over to the YouTube channel and check it out. The first thing you'll notice is that it's branded as the official copier channel, not the AIS channel, which is very smart because it's in the eyes of how people are actually looking for content on YouTube. As you scroll down, you'll see a variety of different type of content here, everything from answering questions around toner installation, to how to fix common copier issues, to whether you should buy a used or a refurbished copier, and so on. If you click into one of these videos, you'll very quickly see that the content is very direct, very educational, and it's actually featuring some of their own employees talking through the products and services that they offer. It's a great representation of the whole idea of they ask, you answer, and creating content in a highly scalable way to address the needs of their audience. So where we've come to now is this idea of creating public-facing marketing videos that address the initial questions people are asking before they even engage with your brand, while also creating videos for your sales team that answers the questions buyers will then have about your business and your specific product or service. It's a simple framework Impact uses called They Ask, You Answer, and it's nothing more than obsessing over the questions your buyers are asking.
At risk of going down a rabbit hole of obsessing over customer questions, there's a study that we're fascinated with at Impact, and it's a study done by Forrester Research Group. And what they found is that on average, 70% of the buyer's journey or the decision to buy is done before a sales team even knows the prospect exists.
Right.
And if this is the case, then what are the things that actually need to be addressed? Because if you make the mistake of just simply going to your sales team and saying, well, what are the questions that you hear? They're not going to be the ones that most prospects are asking initially.
Right.
Like the ones I mentioned earlier. Should I buy a copy or should I finance it? These are things that people want to know before they even engage with sales. So it seems revolutionary. Just answer customers' questions.
Right.
Just obsess over what they care about and their fears, their anxieties, and their worries.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate content strategy.
They ask, you answer. It's a simple starting point for your content strategy, but one that can be so effective given how people now research and buy. And by answering their questions with thoughtful, authentic, and engaging videos, you not only educate and build your brand, you earn their trust and the right to have that next conversation. Because at the end of the day, your business doesn't have a video problem, it has a trust problem. And when you build a culture of marketers, sellers, and customer service reps who are all committed to earning trust, video moves from being an expense to being a true business enabler. Thanks for joining us on Video in Focus, brought to you by the fine folks here at Vidyard. If you enjoyed the show, give it a like or a share and hit that subscribe button for future episodes. And if you want to take Video in Focus to go, download the podcast version of each episode as part of the Creating Connections podcast series, now available on your favorite podcast platform.